Lesson number 103 is about the distributive property. And our first question says, use a distributive property to multiply. Now in this problem, we have 3 times 7 plus x. We have to use the distributive property because 7 plus x, we know we can't add those because they're like terms. So with the distributive property, we'll take our number on the outside and we're going to multiply it first times our first number within parentheses. So 3 times 7 is going to be our first part, and that's 21. Then we're going to add, because the problem tells us to add. And then we're going to take our number on the outside that we're multiplying, and we're going to multiply it times the second term within our parentheses. That's an x. So 3 times x is just 3 times x. So our problem simplifies to be 21 plus 3x. We can't simplify it anymore. We've got our final answer. We could go ahead and box this because we've used the distributive property to multiply. Let's look at another example. We're going to use the distributive property to multiply again, but this time we have 3 terms within our parentheses. So first, we're going to take our number on the outside and multiply it against the first term within our parentheses, and that's an x. So 4 times x is 4 times x, and we can write it just like this. Then we're going to add, because the problem tells us to. We're going to take our number on the outside and we're going to multiply it times our next term. That's 2y. So 4 times 2y, we're adding here. 4 times 2y. 4 times 2 is 8. And we must have 8y. So plus 8y. And then finally we're going to subtract here because the problem tells us to. And we're going to subtract whatever we get when we take the product of 4 in our last term. Well, 4 times our last term of 8, that must be 32. We're all done. That's all we need to do when we use the distributive property to multiply. We've got one more example. Let's use the distributive property to multiply here. We've got 3x, and we need to multiply it by our first term of y. So 3x times y is just 3x times y. And we can just write it out like this. Then we're going to subtract. And we're going to get 3x times 2. Well, 3x times 2, 3 times 2 is 6. We must have 6x. So minus 6x. Then we're going to add, because the problem tells us to. And the last part of our distributive property, we're going to take our 3x and we're going to multiply it times 2x. So 3x times 2x. If we work with the numbers first, 3 times 2 is 6. And x times x is x squared. So we get an answer of 6x squared. So plus 6x squared. And we've got our final answer. We can't simplify any of our terms because none of them are like terms. They don't all have the same variable. Lesson practice will be on page 320. Make sure you've got your notes complete, and I'll see you during our next class.